Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to do my June book haul revisited. So this is a new series that I'm starting, and I got this idea from Julie over at Pages and Pens. I will leave a link down to her channel if you guys want to go check her out. But she had started doing this thing where she would revisit her old book hauls, and then she would go through the books and talk about whether she's read them, whether she unhauled them, if she still hasn't read them yet. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to go back and do that on my channel as well, just to kind of update you on books that I bought and why, and kind of where I am as far as reading them goes. And then it also helps me because I'm looking at these books here. I have two huge stacks of books for the month of June for the past 2 years. So it's a big eye-opener for me too. Like, oh yeah, I bought that and I was really excited and it's still sitting here untouched, so I need to do something about that. And it's a big eye-opener when I am going to buy books now because I'm like, do you know how many books I bought in this same month for the past 2 years and how many are still sitting here unread? So it's a good reality check. So since I've been on BookTube for 2 years now, I am going back to kind of the first book hauls that I've been having. I didn't do them monthly because when I first started out, I was still kind of getting into the groove of it. I wasn't buying books every single month either. So they were a little bit more sporadic towards the beginning. So I'm kind of dividing them up a little bit, if you will. But then from last year, from 2016, they were definitely monthly. So it's a little bit easier on that one. But for this one, I am going to revisit a book haul I did. It was actually at the end of May. And then my next book haul was a June and July combined. So I'm just going to do July for that one for next month. So the first one was towards the end of May, and it was kind of a lot of things. And this, I believe, was one of my first book outlet hauls. So yeah. The first book I hauled was something I got on Amazon, and that is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton, and I haven't read this book yet. This was a 1000% cover buy for me. This is still one of my favorite covers of all time. It's shiny. I hope my light's picking that up. I think it is. It is gorgeous. It's got this gorgeous gold foiled feather on it. This blue is my favorite color. It's so gorgeous. Again, I haven't read it yet. I've heard wonderful things, absolutely wonderful things about it. It's a magical realism story about a young girl named Ava Lavender who is human, but she was born with wings. And they're trying to figure out what in the world's happening. So I am still really interested in reading this. I just haven't done it yet, but still one of my favorite covers of all time. This next one was another Amazon pre-order, actually. I think I pre-ordered this one. And Burn the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Haven't read it yet. Nope. I even have the audiobook for this too, because I think a friend of mine, when I started my Audible account, she sent me a free book because you can, like the first time you want to share an audiobook with someone through accounts, you can do that and it's free. And she sent this to me and said it was really good. So I should get into this. I really want to. I've heard, incredibly good things about it. And yeah, so I just haven't done it yet, but yeah. These next couple I picked up at Walmart. First one is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, and I did read this. I read this. It was really good. I really liked it a lot. I haven't continued on with this series. There is 3 books in this trilogy. I haven't read the other 2 yet. I think I have the second one on my Kindle, and I don't have the third one yet, but I did really, really like this. This follows a young girl named Kelsey who is the heir to the throne of her kingdom, but it's kind of... It reminded me of Sleeping Beauty when I was reading it because she is isolated by her parents for her own safety, and she ends up living with just normal folk in her kingdom until she is 17, which is when she is supposed to take over as queen. And so the second she turns 17, the palace guards come and get her and take her back to the kingdom so she can rule. And there's an evil woman who is currently ruling. So they're, having to deal with that. And it was really good. I really liked it. Lots of political stuff in here. I really enjoyed Kelsey as a character, so I do need to get back to the series for real. I want to read the other 2. But yeah, so one read. The next one I also picked up at Walmart, and that is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Nope, I haven't read it yet. Still want to. I still want to. Someone that I was watching recently read this. Books and Lala read this, and she loved it. So... yeah, it kind of reignited my desire to read it. This is a big chore. This is really, really big and heavy and long, and the print is really small. So it would be a chore for me to read this one, but I still am really interested in it. So yeah. All right, so now we're getting into my book outlet haul portion of this one here. So the first one is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, which is funny because I'm pretty sure I talked about the sequel to this, which was The Mime Order, last month. Because I got it in May of last year, I believe, on Book Outlet. And I got this one apparently the June before. And I haven't read this one yet. It's on my shelf though for Book Outlet for stuff to read this summer. I really do want to start reading this because the third book just came out and I really want to see if it's a series that I really want to get into. I think it's supposed to be 7 books long as of right now. So it will be, you know, definitely a long series, but if I really like it, I'll be excited. And I know that this takes place in the future. And that's all I really know about it, but I've heard good things. The next one I had was The Almost Moon by Alice Sebold, and I actually just DNF'd this book and unhauled it last month. I started it and I didn't like it at all. I didn't like a single word of that book, and it just wasn't for me. I didn't even get halfway through. It gave me a really icky feeling in a bad way, and I just said, nope, I don't think this is going to be the one for me. And then I looked up reviews on Goodreads and it was terrible, like 2 stars. So I went, okay, I'm not going to waste my time with this one. So I have unhauled it. And then I had The Enchanted by Renee Denfeld, and this one I did read and I have unhauled it. I unhauled it a while ago, but this one followed a woman who was a death row, kind of like a lawyer. She helped people who were on death row to have new trials and to, you know, see if she could get them off of death row. And she formed a connection with someone else in that field, and it was interesting. It ended up being kind of magical realism towards the end, which threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting that. It was very dark. It was, yeah, a lot of people were just completely raving about it. I didn't rave about it, but it was good. But I wasn't like recommending it to everybody. But I did read it. The next one that I hauled was this big, huge Jane Austen. This is actually funny enough. It's not as heavy as some of these other books I just held up, and it's like twice as big. I guess they use lighter paper or something. This has 4 Jane Austen novels in it. It has Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, and Persuasion. I have read Pride and Prejudice from this book. I've not read the other 3, but you know, eventually I will sometime. But so I read a quarter of this. The next book is Lux Beginnings. This is the first 2 books in the Lux series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This contains Obsidian and Onyx, which are the first 2 books in the 5-book series. Haven't read these yet either, but they are on my shelf, and this is definitely a series I want to get to this summer to see if I like it. And hopefully, if I do, I'll, you know, read the whole thing this summer, which would be nice. But yeah, still haven't read it yet. The next one is Love Me Anyway by Tiffany Hawk, and Tiffany Hawk is a friend of mine. She is a military spouse as well. We were stationed at the same Air Force base for a while. I didn't actually know her, but a good friend of mine does. And so she wrote and published a book, which is super awesome. And this follows 2 flight attendants who are kind of trying to push each other out of their comfort zones. They're polar opposites. So they kind of try to get the other one to either loosen up or tighten up a little bit. And I'm really interested to read it. So this next one is Cinderella Screwed Me Over by Cindy Madsen, and I have unhauled this book. I did not read it, and it was totally an impulse buy, and I think I got it just because it was really super cheap, and I don't know. The more I looked at it, the more I was like, I think this is just going to be fluffy and forgettable and probably just not something I'm going to absolutely love, so I just went ahead and unhauled it. This next one is So Much Pretty by Kara Hoffman. Haven't read this one either, guys. Nope. And yeah, so still here, still interested. It's pretty short, so I should be able to get through it pretty quickly when I do decide to pick it up, but just haven't done it yet. And the next one is Southern Charm by Tinsley Mortimer. Tinsley Mortimer. It's hard to say that name. This is another one that I have unhauled and I did not read. And kind of like Cinderella Screwed Me Over, it was really like an impulse buy. And the more I kind of looked at it, I just went, this is probably going to be dumb. So I don't really want to spend my time, you know, reading it. I'd rather read something else. So I just went ahead and unhauled it. Next one is The Gatecrasher by Madeline Wickham, also known as Sophie Kinsella. Madeline Wickham is actually her real name, and Sophie Kinsella is a pen name that she writes under. But Sophie Kinsella writes the Shopaholic series, which is probably her most popular books. and I really liked those. I've read all of them. So I haven't read anything under Madeline Wickham yet, so I'm really interested to see if her writing is any different under a different name. So yeah, I'm planning to read this summer though. And the last book in that book haul from 2 years ago is A Paris Apartment, and this is by Michelle Gable. I haven't read this one yet either, guys. Nope. And I believe this is following an art, not an art dealer, but maybe like an art, what are they called when they have to look at something and kind of decipher it? Appraiser, maybe? Maybe an art appraiser. And she ends up going to Paris on an assignment to clean out an old apartment that has a lot of art that needs to be appraised and kind of looked at. And I think she uncovers a lot of secrets in this apartment. So yeah, I haven't really heard anything about this. I've seen people hauling it, but I've never heard any reviews or anyone talking about actually reading it. So I'm not sure how this is going to be, but I just haven't read it yet. All right, moving on to my 2016 June haul, so 1 year ago. The first 3 that I hauled, were the Live Ship Traders trilogy from Robin Hobb. So this is the second trilogy in her Farseer world. I hope I'm saying all that right. Okay, so the first one is Ship of Magic. The second one is Mad Ship, and a third one is Ship of Destiny. These are the UK paperback editions of these books. I have not read them yet because I still have only read the first book in the first trilogy. Shamefully, I really, really liked it. I did read that actually last May, and so I read that one a year ago. And I need to get back to it because I really liked it. I actually heard the audiobooks for at least the first one, the first trilogy are really good. So I may give the first one a listen again just to kind of refresh on what happened and then move on to continue on in the series because I really did like the first one a lot. I remember that. But yeah, so these huge books in this trilogy, like my wrist is hurting right now because I'm holding them up. Haven't read them yet. The next book that I hauled was An Arc of the Light of Paris by Eleanor Brown. And this one I did read and I did a review on it. And I have since unhauled that book. I actually did a giveaway on my channel for the ARC version because I did get sent a finished copy. So read it, unhauled it, loved it. After that, I hauled She Poured Out Her Heart by Jane Thompson, which was another book that was sent to me for review from the publishers. I did do a review on this one, and I didn't love it. I only gave it 2 stars, and it followed 2 women who had a friendship since college, and you kind of see how they are as they progress in their lives, and one of them ends up sleeping with the other one's husband, and I get that storyline, like, okay, but I felt like the affair was very random and there was no inclination of any attraction from either one of those people beforehand. So I thought it was just kind of strange. I didn't really like the way it was done. So that one I didn't love and I have since unhauled it. And these next 2 books were sent to me from publishers unsolicited, so that was nice. They both had come out in trade paperback. The first one is The Ambassador's Wife, and this is by Jennifer Steele. I actually did read the first chapter of this book when I did a try a chapter tag last year, and I liked it a lot. I really liked the first chapter in this book, and then I put it down and I never finished it. So yeah, this one might need to go on my nightstand so I can actually like read the whole thing and finish it. But I really did like the first chapter. This one follows a woman who is an artist and she falls in love with a man. They get married. He becomes an ambassador for a foreign country. I can't remember exactly where. And she's really finding that her freedom is very limited when she's in a foreign country. She's not really taking to that very well. And then she actually ends up getting kidnapped. And that happened at the end of the first chapter. I don't know why I put this down. Why did I put this down? This next one was also sent to me unsolicited, and that is Driving Hungry by Lane Mosler. And this is a nonfiction book about traveling through a bunch of different countries and kind of a culinary experience through that, which I think is fascinating. And I actually am excited to read this. This would actually be a pretty good summer read, I think, because it's about traveling and all that. But yeah, so I haven't read it yet, but I really want to still. The next book that I hauled is one that I got at Goodwill, and that is The Iron Trial by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black. And I did read this recently, and I loved it. I flew through this book really quickly. This is a middle grade book about a boy who is part of the magic world, I guess you could say. They're kind of integrated into the human world, and the humans don't really know about them, but they have these special abilities, and when they reach a certain age, they are forced to take a test and go through some trials to see if they qualify to go to a school called the Magisterium Academy, and that is where they learn to hone their abilities. They learn a bunch of different magic things so that they can kind of perfect their craft and be part of the magical world completely. And I loved it. I really did. Like I said, I flew through it really quickly. I love anything with like school settings and magical school settings. Absolutely, I'm in. And this was no exception. I really liked it, and I am excited to continue on with this series. I believe there's going to be 5, and so I'm keeping my eye out to pick up a cheap copy of the next book, which is called The Copper Gauntlet. But yeah, I really like this. So I did read it. I still have it. I actually put it in my daughter's room because when she's old enough, I want her to read it too. But yeah, I loved it. The next one that I hauled from Goodwill is The Hypnotist Love Story by Liam Moriarty. Haven't read this one either. I did just read Big Little Lies by Liam Moriarty and loved it so much. So I'm excited to get into more of her work. I have quite a collection of her things. I think I almost have all of the books that she's written. I don't have The Lasting Anniversary. I used to, and I think I unhauled it, but I read it and I liked it. And then there's one more, something about 3 dresses or something like that, that I don't have, but everything else I do. So I really do want to get more into her work. I've really enjoyed everything I've read from her so far, and yeah, so just haven't read it yet. Next one is another 2-in-1, and I got this book super cheap from Goodwill, and I got High Tide by Ellen Hilderbrand. This contains 2 novels, The Beach Club and Summer People. I just haven't read either one of these yet, but this would be a great thing to take like on a vacation or on the beach or anything like that. We don't have beaches here, but you know, a great summer read, most definitely. And yeah, I just haven't read it yet. These next 3 I got at a bookstore that was called Hastings, that was open here for a while. They have since closed their doors nationwide, so they don't exist anymore. But I did get books 2, 3, and 4 in the Parasol Protectorate series by Gail Carringer. So book number 2 is Changeless, book number 3 is Blameless, and book number 4 is Heartless. I have not started this series yet. I do have the first one on my shelf as well that I got somewhere else, and I just haven't started it, so obviously I haven't read these yet either. But yeah, these are like steampunk type of novels, and I don't know much else about them. I want to say there's some sort of paranormal aspect, but I'm not 1,000% sure, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's another series that I would like to start reading. I just haven't. All right, this next one was a whoopsie for me because I totally put this on my book outlet shelf thinking I actually did buy it at book outlet, and I did not. I got it at Hastings, but that's The Crown Tower by Michael J. Sullivan. So this is book 1 in the Ryuria Chronicles, and I have book 2 of the Ryuria Chronicles as well that I did get at book outlet. So I put them both on the shelf thinking that I got this one there too, and I didn't. So I'm going to have to take those off. But I have not started this yet either. Nope. Another one I haven't started. This is like an epic high fantasy. Nope, haven't started it yet. The next one I picked up at the thrift shop on our base here. Every so often I go in there and look at books, and sometimes I find some really good stuff. And I found A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers, which is book 1 in the Mark of the Lion series. And I haven't read this one yet either, guys. But I did read Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers last year, or maybe 2 years ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago now, and just completely fell in love with it. It's one of the best books I've ever read. So I want to read more from her. I've heard good things about this one too. I heard not to expect it to be as good as Redeeming Love. Redeeming Love is probably her best book. So I won't go into it with, you know, those kind of expectations, but I am excited to read it still. These next few books here I actually got at a library sale that I went to last year. The first one is The Killing Song by P.J. Paris. Haven't read it yet. This is a crime thriller following a serial killer who contacts a journalist and kind of leaves him a clue as to how to track him down, or kind of like a calling card for him, and it's a song. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't read it yet, but I got it for super cheap, and I love crime thrillers and mystery murders and all that. So someday. This next one is another one I got at the library, and it's one that I have not read yet, but it is definitely moving up on my priority list because I just read a book by this author and I loved it so much. So I want to read more of her stuff. That is A Matter of Blood by Sarah Pinborough. I just read, I think in February, I read Behind Her Eyes, and it was fantastic. One of my favorite books. I think my favorite so far this year as of right now. So I definitely want to read more from her. That was my first book by her, and so I had actually gotten this last year without realizing, without knowing the author or anything, and just the cover intrigued me. So yeah, this one has definitely moved up on my list because of that. Now I want to start reading more of her work, and I actually have something on my shelf already, so we'll see. This next one, I also picked up at the library, A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. No clue what this is about. I've heard good things, but no clue, and still haven't read it, so yeah. And this next one is Left Behind by Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins. Yes, Jerry B. Jenkins. Book number 1 of the Left Behind series, all about the reckoning and the people who are left behind and don't get to go to heaven. And again, heard fantastic, phenomenal things about this series. I now have the first 5 books, so I don't have any excuses as to why I haven't even started it yet. I need to. I really, really need to. I just haven't. But I'm so intrigued and so interested in doing it. I need to sit down and pick this one up. This next one I did read. Yay! I actually read it before I even bought this copy of this book because I didn't have a copy, but I love the book so much. It's Unbroken by Laura Hillebrand. I absolutely, absolutely loved this book. This book follows a World War II vet who was a prisoner of war and kind of his story and what he went through. He was also an Olympic runner, and he met Hitler at those Olympics, shook his hand. This was before we knew what Hitler was going to do, but just all this crazy stuff and just the things that this man endured under a very, very brutal Japanese person. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. And this was made into a movie by Angelina Jolie. I have not seen the movie yet. I do want to watch it, but this book just completely tore out my heart. It was insane. I don't normally read a ton of nonfiction anymore, or just, it's not my go-to genre, but this one was just so fantastic. And so when I saw this really good copy at the library for super cheap, I went ahead and grabbed a copy for my shelves because I had it on my Kindle, but I absolutely, absolutely loved it. And the last one of my June book hauls from last year is Badger by C.M. McKenna. I've not read this one yet either. Oh, it's killing me. This is one that I'm going to move up on my priority, though, because this is one that has just intrigued me completely. C.M. McKenna writes adult erotica books. She also goes by Kara McKenna. I've read quite a few things under that name, nothing under her abbreviated name. I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference, but my sister loves this book. She recommended it to me. She warned me that it was very dark and gritty. It's not like your normal lovey romance type of erotica type thing. So I'm really interested in reading this to see what it's all about. This cover kills me. It's one of my favorite covers of all time. I just love it. I don't know why. It looks like anime almost. I just think it's stunning and it really catches my eye. But yeah, so this one is going to get moved up as well. Okay, so my totals for my past 2 June book hauls. I hauled a total of 37 books. I read 7 of them, which is terrible. I unhauled 7 of them, and I still have 26 books that are unread. So, yeah, those are not great numbers, guys. Nope, they are not. And I decided that at the end of all these videos, I'm going to pick 1 or 2 books and I'm going to put them on my nightstand so that they're in my face, on my radar, for me to read soon. I think if I see them every day, I'm going to read them a lot sooner. I'm going to pick 3 this time. The first one I'm going to put on my nightstand is The Ambassador's Wife, since I have already technically started this. And, I definitely do need to reread it from the beginning again, but it was only 1 chapter. So I definitely need to get back to this because I really did enjoy the book, the first chapter. So I am going to try to finish it up. Another one I'm going to throw on there is A Matter of Blood by Sarah Pinborough because I do want to read more from this author, and I was really excited when I picked this one up, so I want to go ahead and give this one a read soon too. And last but not least, I'm going to throw Badger on there too because I look at this book all the time on my shelves and I'm always like, oh, I want to read that. But I never put it on my TBR and I really don't know why I don't do it. But this is something I'm really in the mood for. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on there so I can read it because I'm so intrigued by it. All right, guys, that's it for me. So those were my past 2 month of June book hauls, and the numbers were not great, but I did pull out 3 books that I'm really excited to read, so hopefully I can get to those soon. Let me know down below if you guys have bought anything exciting this month or if there's anything that you remember buying last summer that you haven't read yet and it's kind of on your mind. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day. Bye.